or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days. Facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter @Talk El Paso, or Twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk, or at the very least, we should be there shortly. May have had some digital percussive maintenance we're having to do over there. Since you can't hit it, you got to turn it back off and on again. But we're still up doing the show and all the things that we like to do or think we do pretty well here on this program, on this airwaves, in this time slot, talking about the things that affect us here in the borderland, and of course having the ability to do so by having live local talk radio here, because I still contend that we are worth it. Bunch of stuff going on in and around and through the area today. There are still more questions coming up about the whole situation with the still under construction and maybe questionable about what that construction and near future will look like for the, again, Children's Museum in downtown El Paso, including what will be coming out of it and how the construction will continue on, as there's other decisions going on with notable properties in downtown that have also previously caught fire, including redevelopment agreements going on here. Also, of course, continuous focus on border security, immigration, laws, policies, etc. throughout all of that going on with, among other things, one of El Paso's congressional representatives, or at the very least far east parts of El Paso, and an increasing amount of, say, the lower valley, and even not just, the entire whole part of the side of it. Anyway, that going on. Tony Gonzalez doing some interesting notes about, calling for greater enforcement and even visiting the area, as he is, among other things, scheduled to actually be having a roundtable discussion on, well, some things we've discussed very locally here recently, as we do have Richard DeMille and Calvin Williams joining us here. Calvin Williams, wave over there, and Richard DeMille, I think, referring to some of the other partnerships that we have, including Fella Health. That's still going on. Basically, I'm still in the enrollment process, but I'll be happy to talk more about that later on once there's, I got more about getting underway with it that I can talk about, but the good paying attention, I guess, if that's what you're talking about. Anyway, we do have, of course, more comments, and so thank you for also proving that we're on air and online the way we need to be, with also Robbie Flores and Monica Cervantes dropping those likes and reacts that we certainly do appreciate. And also today, we're going to be getting into, as has been promised for a minute now, that interview with El Paso Electric about smart meters, what the local rollout is, what that looks like, and also even some of the questions y'all have been bringing up and been very interested about, including what's the back end, what's the benefit, what are the opt-outs, and what are some of the, to be seen impacts or concerns that y'all have, including solar power and even kind of questions about control in general in a variety of ways. So we delve into that, and that will be our interview for today. We also have Calvin Williams clarifying he's actually watching and listening from Oregon. Do appreciate you pointing that out, because sure, we talk about local things, and if you want to be involved or knowledgeable about them, that's a good way to do it. But just the fact that people can do this from around the world these days, anywhere with a internet signal and free internet, I should, say, add on, that's kind of cool to know that. Also have Ted Kors. A good afternoon to you as well, as we delve into a whole lot of stuff going on in and around this area here today. So the La Nube Children's Museum, of course, we mentioned that as having some incendiary issues earlier in the week. Monday, I believe it was, right before we ended up getting on air, was knocked down, but it's still not totally known. It has been ruled now, the cause of the fire, that is, according to our news partners over at KFOX 14, as unintentional. And actually, a quote from the email release from the El Paso Fire Department spokesperson: upon conclusion for the forensic origin and cause examination, the fire was determined to be the unintentional acts of a person or persons associated with the common methods of building construction, which, did start as a construction crews were working on the roof. So I don't think it would be unreasonable to expect that there probably were some damage beyond just the roof here, but at least from all the pictures and angles that I've seen, it does seem like it was pretty well contained. Again, still wanting to see the inside of it there. And among other things, it's being estimated that the water damage more extensive than the fire damage itself, because of I think the response time was within about 8 minutes there, but it's also noted by our news partners over at KFOX 14, them doing some more reporting about concerns about the shape of La Nube's Children's Museum surface after that. It was, of course, noted that the roof made it a little bit difficult. The shape of it, it's if you haven't seen it, gone downtown and checked that out, it's got that kind of like childish. I mean, it's a refined shape. I'm not going to say it's messy or anything, but it has that like the kid might draw as a cloud, the kind of little bumps and irregularities that everyone drew as they were kids, if you had access to crayons and paper, probably. So there's some ideas about that, but really the actual Vice President of Operations for the El Paso Community Foundation, Stephanie Otero, responded to these kind of concerns, saying that throughout the design and construction document phase, safety was the number one priority. The oddly shaped roof just slows down how a person walks and accesses it versus a flat roof. So they'll see how that actually ends up going. Maybe they can put something else on it. But the full report from the fire marshal probably won't be out for another few days just yet. Probably early next week or some point next week in any case. But on a more overarching, well, definitely what we've been talking about for ever since this show started, border security, immigration, etc., has absolutely been a focus that we continue to focus on, among other things. And we actually had, among other things, just about, let's call it an hour and a half ago at this point here, Congressman Tony Gonzalez, a Republican representing the Texas 23rd Congressional District, that being the one that is an increasing portion of the eastern part of El Paso County, I mean, the entire eastern border of El Paso County, I'll say that much, and increasing bites, largely unincorporated areas, but that has been subject to change, particularly with that last census. In any case, was actually here in El Paso and specifically visited the Paso del Norte bridge, posting some pictures over up on his Twitter feed, noting that the aftermath and continued kind of concerns coming out, well, both what we saw here in El Paso and some further items that he has been sending out, including the kind of concern about border security and, well, not even just border security, but cross-border issues, including the safety of Americans in Mexico, noting, among other things, that there was actually, how can I describe this? Actually sending a letter to Secretary Blinken calling for, well, just the title of his thing, calling for answers to cartel violence against Americans at the southern border. And so noted that even on the incident a couple of weeks ago, in which happened in, Matamoros, just south of the Texas border with Mexico, that there was that kidnapping that resulted in the death of 2 Americans, and notably the interesting supposed Gulf cartel actions that happened after that, including them writing a apology letter and turning over 5 individuals they claimed were involved. Yeah, that's an interesting type of situation there. But he also notes that there are this weekend that 3 more Americans are missing in Mexico. Martiza Trinidad Perez Rios, her sister Mariana Perez Rios, and their friend Dora Alicia Cervantes Sainz. None of whom have been heard from in 3 weeks, he notes. And so the letter quotes, among other things, criminal cartel syndicates have never been as powerful as they are today, wreaking havoc with impunity in Mexico and spurring violent crimes in the United States through their illicit activities. These trends make it clear that the United States must take a more proactive approach in addressing this issue at its root. Americans are being kidnapped and killed, or rather, vice versa, to quote directly, killed and kidnapped by cartels alongside thousands of Mexican citizens. And so there's been, of course, quite a lot of conversation going on nationally, locally, and even internationally, of course, about border security, particularly any kind of cross-border cooperation, and, the prospect of military action even being brought up more than once that I've heard of, and we've had a little bit of discussion and why that's just a thorny subject, I gotta say, and if not handled incredibly delicately, basically, if we're not doing this in any other way as to, say, avoid an arms race, I don't see that necessarily being the best option for us here. But interesting position by Gonzalez, among other things, as he was, among other things, recently censured, actually, by the state-level Republican Party for essentially not playing ball, not being on board with several different items, particularly nationally with votes, notably one of them being decrying of the, border security legislation that had been proposed, most specifically without being named exactly by Gonzalez, that is, of Chip Roy, other fellow Texas congressional Republican. But one thing I also want to mention about this is that, among other things, besides being in El Paso right now, he is also going to be holding a news conference or news conference a little bit later today on the need to defeat Proposition K in El Paso on the May 6th ballots. That's me quoting directly from it. And so we've talked about this item. This one would be, I guess, more commonly known as the climate policy that's going to be on that May 6th city charter amendment election. So the fact that we have some congressional focus on there here, and some of the other participants of it are going to include Claudia Rodriguez, former city council representative, a Hudspeth County judge, a representative from the El Paso Chamber of Commerce and the El Paso Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and a representative from El Paso Electric, among other things. So that one's happening, I do believe, at 6 p.m. today. So I don't think I'm going to be able to jet right out of here from the studio to cover that directly, unfortunately, but I am sure we're going to be having more on that in, well, let's just call it probably the next show here. Just going to call that shot right now. But in the meantime, speaking of El Paso Electric, oddly enough, we are going to be having that interview today. Of course, the one I've been promising about smart meters, what the El Paso Electric utility is saying about them, what some of the plans going on, among other things, are, and some of the questions that you all have brought up. So we'll definitely be delving into that. So, I mean, this is a pre-recorded interview, just make that perfectly clear. So we'll be able to ask more live questions, try to address as much as possible some of the ones that you all brought up that are addressable at this stage, though I'm sure there will be more to come. So, of course, a lot of people chiming in over on the social media. I do appreciate, including Ida Beza Gardner, Willie Jenkins, hello and hi. Marky Mandingo having a good time with a New York strip steak sale. On the paleo diet, good, glad that's working for you, as well as Eric Van Holstein Rathlow, wave to you as well. So we'll take more of those comments and pop them up, the ones that are particularly the most relevant to what we got coming up for you, because we will be getting into that interview, an extensive one, an extended one, going to be one of those two segmenters, as we sometimes do. I kind of like getting back to them. Anyway, got to take that first break of this hour right now. You are, of course, tuned in to Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. All the things we talk about and a whole lot more after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Don't go anywhere.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Stop and go traffic on I-10 eastbound between Trowbridge and Viscount with a 10-minute delay. An earlier accident I-10 eastbound at the Hunter Viscount exit has been cleared. Those vehicles moved off to the left shoulder. Still delays. Gateway East near Lee Trevino on-ramp to the I-10. An accident reported. The left lane is blocked. You can see it by the Lee Trevino I-10 freeway cameras. Heavy traffic there. Alameda Avenue eastbound at Paisano, an accident reported. Harry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Our American Stories. He's been called the most important American composer of the 20th century, and his career started out in segregated clubs. We'll have the story of Duke Ellington. Be sure to catch this week's edition of Our American Stories on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, El Paso, Ivan Ochoa, General Manager of Sunland Park Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram Fiat. Our goal is to make March an all-time record month in sales, so we'll do whatever it takes to make a deal. Don't wait. Visit us today for huge savings.
Save big on hundreds of new and certified pre-owned vehicles during Ram Truck Month at Sunland Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Upside down your car, truck, or SUV? We want it, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Right now, get $3,000 off MSRP on 2023 Ram 1500s, plus super low 4.9% APR for 72 months. Get $4,000 off MSRP on 2023 Jeep Gladiator Sport, or $4,500 off MSRP on 2023 Jeep Grand Cherokee L models. Worried about your credit? Don't sweat it. Our lenders will push to approve your credit, even if your credit is less than perfect. Trade and upgrade for less at Sunland Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, where buying a car is fun. At I-10 at Sunland Park Drive, or online at sunlandparkdodge.com. Estamos en tu esquina, El Paso. El Paso strong. Includes factory rebate and dealer discount plus TTNL. 4.9% APR is $16.06 per thousand finance on select vehicles with approved credit. Offers not combined.
Planning a spring getaway? This month, get 40% off Rosetta Stone's lifetime unlimited subscription and explore the world with bite-sized lessons in 25 languages, from Spanish and German to French and Korean, and even Portuguese and Turkish. Rosetta Stone prepares you for real-life conversations and will have you talking from your very first lesson. So visit rosettastone.com today for 40% off and get ready for the trip of a lifetime. Offer ends March 22nd. Rosetta Stone, how language is learned.
It can be dangerously easy to steal your identity during tax season because so much sensitive info is all together.
Before we start the annual meeting of Sean's personal info, has anyone seen Social Security number?
Not me.
Nope.
Nuh-uh.
Oh, no. He's been stolen.
LifeLock by Norton makes it easy to help protect yourself. If you become a victim, we'll work to fix it.
No one can monitor all transactions, but you can save up to 25% off your first year with promo code NEWS at lifelock.com. Identity theft protection starts here.
Weather and traffic info. You need it? We have it. Traffic and weather all day. Stay informed. News Radio 690 KTSM. News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Welcome back to Talk El Paso, airing on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, more or less the main one, with other various similar types of pages, other Facebooks, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch.tv as well, either under Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk. Keeping the conversation going on over there, and going to be delving into some things that you all have been asking, particularly as we get into our next subject here today. Joining me now here in studio, we do have Elizabeth Aragon, project manager with El Paso Electric. Thank you very much for joining us here today.
Hi, nice to meet you. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming on to speak about this. Now, we've done some previous brief conversations with El Paso Electric in general about some other things, but this we're going to be talking about today, delving into what has been a topic of conversation, not necessarily constant, but whenever it comes up, there's a lot of interest in it. Namely, can be kind of summed up in one phrase: smart meters. Now, this is something that has actually begun with the installation. I mean, it's been mentioned for a while now, but El Paso Electric has now begun and launched into some of the processes of change we're going to be seeing in this region, right?
That's correct. Yes.
So when it comes to the very concept of, I mean, even beyond the installations, when it comes to the concept of smart meters, particularly as El Paso Electric is implementing it, what is that, and what does it mean for those that may have heard the phrase but aren't really quite sure what the details are?
Okay, so pretty much what smart meters are the next generation digital meters that connect wirelessly to El Paso Electric instead of us having to go and do manual readings of those or pass by drive by readings. We now have a network that collects all that data for all our meters at 15-minute intervals, and then it just provides it through a safe, secure network in an automatic way back to El Paso Electric.
So kind of at the base level, anyone who has gone and stared at their electric meter, which I will admit I have done. I mean, there's the kind of both the spinning disc that has previously been able to be seen, and then the clock faces that don't tell time. Essentially, the bunch of different ones that in total represent the amount of power draw that has happened over time at that location, at that metered area. I mean, it can be different apartments, so not necessarily a whole building on its own. And so the way things have previously been done, pretty much from a billing standpoint, has been that someone, I mean, previous generations even, someone would go out and write down or like take a picture of the position of those hands, essentially, and that would be part of what determines what your electric bill is, right?
We've kind of evolutionized to that, to drive-by reading, where,
right.
And then now, you know, it's automatic, right? We don't need people going out there to do it. It automatically sends via the network. It sends all the information, the usage consumption. I mean, I'm sorry, the energy consumption that the customer is using.
So beyond that, I mean, the idea of just changing billing, being more automatic that way, less, requiring of people going out there is interesting, but there are also other aspects that you all, and there's a lot of information that's available. Want to point this out right now. epelectric.com. We're going to be referring to a bunch here, the smart meters, epelectric.com/smart meters. I mean, you search up El Paso Electric smart meters and this will come right up. You do mention some other benefits that you all are putting forth with this beyond just the way that billing will be easier, kind of y'all's, and the information presented to consumers will, I mean, you mentioned that it's kind of tracked every 15 minutes, right? And so that information will also be available to people is one of the things you're talking about?
That's correct. The customers will be able to have more control of their energy consumption and will get near real-time data if they sign up for the Manage My Account portal and the EP Electric website. So they would have near real-time data where they could be having more control, more information on your energy consumption, and be able to also get tips and information that could help you save energy or take advantage of different programs and rates that are particular to that household.
So beyond the like, okay, I've seen what my energy usage was in my previous bill. This will be not even just okay, here's what it looked like in 15-minute interviews on my previous bill. It will be kind of as it is. Like I could look up if I had one installed in my house right now and look up if I had, again, the app, all those parts of it you mentioned, and say, okay, my power draw is at this within the last 15 minutes.
That's correct.
Okay, that is interesting. So when it comes to, I mean, all those aspects of it, you have, I mean, some of the list of customer benefits, but what does it actually take to have this installed here? I mean, we are talking about having to do complete replacement of meters. What does that mean for individual, people living at home, or, those kind of aspects?
Okay, so individually for households, customers don't need to do anything. We will be doing a complete replacement of all our meters in our service territory, and we'll be taking it starting this spring and all the way through mid to late 2025. That's how long we need. It'll take us to replace all the meters in our service territory.
Yeah, kind of you also got a map over there at that site I mentioned that kind of shows the waves, so to speak, of where this will be coming, starting from kind of the centralized El Paso area and some of the zip codes that you all have listed there, including 79901, 02, 03, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 16, 20, 22, 24, and 30, right?
That's correct. Yes.
And then it'll be kind of radiating out further. So that's kind of like the central-ish parts of the area. I mean, kind of, east and west side as well. But then it'll be a little bit later, at least currently scheduled this year, later this year, starting to area 2 will then include basically all the way to the northern border of El Paso and Texas, of El Paso County and Texas, and then kind of getting into southern New Mexico, and then later on down into the lower valley, and then kind of at the latest parts of it through the kind of furthest extents of the coverage area that you all service, right?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, and again, so some of those expected through, as you all have listed right now, either March or August 2025 is the current rollout plan.
Yes, that is correct.
So when it comes to the actual installation area, and we're talking about the meter, the basic electric connection, can people expect that there will be times when electricity will not be available in their home when this installation is happening?
It'll be a very minimal amount of time, anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes. They'll see an outage just while we replace those meters.
Will y'all be sending out like notices when it's coming to the neighborhood kind of thing?
Yes, customers will be getting postcards in the mail 60 days prior to when they're expected to change out their meter. That way, when you see, all these trucks and El Paso Electric personnel and third-party installers, won't get surprised. They'll come in waves and they'll come through the neighborhoods. And you'll also be able to log into the website and check when you'll put in your zip code and your address in order to give you an idea of when we'll be getting to exchanging your meter.
Okay. And again, if you're just joining us, guest right now is Elizabeth Aragon, project manager with El Paso Electric. Again, the website I'm referring to here with some of this information you can see for yourself, epelectric.com/smart meters with an S, smart meters S at the end of it. So plural meters. And so this is part of what's going on here. And so one of the questions that has come up for us here already will be about the very basic level. I mean, of course, billing we've discussed as a very important part of this and the way that you all will be handling it, but will actually be costs associated with this change with it. So can people expect that there will be differences on their bill when it comes to having this deployed at their, house, residence, et cetera?
Yes, there'll be a minimal cost under $2 for each per month for each of our customers. And that is a minimal fee compared to the benefits and just the insight that customers will start to begin seeing in their bills.
So, of course, related to that, then one of the questions has come up about if someone is not interested in this, either not wanting to see electrical disruption or are deciding to not have it. You all do have information up over there on the opt-out process with a few disclaimers that you mentioned there, right?
Yes, that's correct. Everybody, our customers have the option to opt out, and they're welcome to call customer service so that they could get more information on how that process works. Apparently, you'll get part of that is having a surcharge, a one-time fee, and then a monthly surcharge associated with that opt-out option.
opt out. Okay,
Mhm.
so there will be other impacts that come from that. I mean, it won't be able to, like, nothing changes otherwise. There will still be further changes coming on as you are continuing to change how the electrical utility works, among other things, right?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay, so when we're talking about the rollout here, will be kind of like street by street, neighborhood by neighborhood, or how is that kind of planned so far?
We're calling it optimization areas, and that's in line with also how our network was deployed and
Mhm.
how and as we're testing the network with gathering the data from the meters, that's how it was all kind of the technology is the one that led
Mhm.
our plan for the optimization areas throughout the city.
Yeah, because of course, what comes up to me then is that, I mean, since there's more than just, electricity being focused on here, that there is data gathering, having with this as well, and automatic data gathering. What kind of infrastructure is needing to be worked on that way then?
And you're correct on that. We have been working for the past year and a half on our back office systems, meaning our new billing system, in turn, and then now getting together our head end system, which is what gathers all the information from the meters, translated to our billing system. We've also been working on installing our network in the past year. I mean, sorry, half a year, and
Right.
then getting prepared for all that before we even start meter deployment.
So is this something where it's going to be wirelessly collected from the meters itself? Is it going to have to be something wired in, or how does that work?
That's correct. Everything is wireless. No connections whatsoever. It's all gathered over the air.
Over the air. Okay. So that's part of what's coming in here. So tell you what, we got to take that next break right now. Again, joining us here in studio right now is Elizabeth Aragon, project manager with El Paso Electric, continuing a conversation with her about the smart meters, both what the technology and information is, and well as some of the questions that y'all have had. So we're going to go and take that break and be back with more here on Talk El Paso on News Radio 690 KTSM.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello, I'm Erica Castillo with this KFOX 14 News Update. It's been over a year since El Paso city leaders looked to revise El Paso's noise ordinance, and yet there have been no changes. A spokesperson with the city of El Paso says the city is still looking to secure a third-party consultant, which is why no modifications have been made to the city's current noise ordinance. This comes almost 9 months after city leaders tabled a proposal to make numerous changes to the noise ordinance. The city's current ordinance allows for 70 decibels or less after midnight, and 7 people are injured. It happened this afternoon after a tree fell on a family at the San Antonio Zoo. At about 12:05 p.m., a tree branch unexpectedly broke loose and fell on the guests, injuring them. San Antonio Zoo security and EMT team quickly responded and started treating them. 1 person was taken to the hospital in critical condition. 6 others were hospitalized. I'm Iraca Castillo with this KFOX 14 News Update.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Montgomery. Big weather changes coming our way for the end of the week and the weekend. For tomorrow, it looks like we'll see temperatures around 70 degrees, still breezy to windy conditions for your Thursday, 20% chance of a shower. For Friday, partly cloudy skies, much cooler, not 70s, but a high around 57 on Friday, high only around 59 for your Saturday with a 20% chance of a shower. From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Montgomery.
This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. Hiring heating up? Indeed's hiring platform makes it easy to attract, screen, and interview candidates all in one place. Sponsor a post and instantly receive a short list of quality candidates on Indeed whose resumes match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
What would you do if a secret cabal of the most powerful folks in the United States told you, hey, let's start a coup?
Back in the 1930s, a Marine named Smedley Butler was all that stood between the U.S. and fascism.
I'm Ben Bolin.
I'm Alex French.
And I'm Smedley Butler. Join us for this sordid tale of ambition, treason, and what happens when evil tycoons have too much time on their hands.
Listen to Let's Start a Coup on the iHeartRadio app, or wherever you find your favorite shows.
A catalytic converter is an important component of your car's exhaust system. They can cost several $1,000s to replace. Cats can be removed in under a minute and have a high scrap value. Keep your vehicle safe from cat burglars. Park in well-lit areas. Install a protective device. Have your VIN number etched onto your catalytic converter. It's a total catastrophe. If your catalytic converter is stolen, lock it down. Learn more at lockitdowntx.com. Brought to you by the Insurance Council of Texas and the Motor Vehicle Crime Prevention Authority.
For the local issues and discussion you won't get anywhere else, turn to Talk El Paso, weekdays at 4 right here on News Radio 690 KTSM, brought to you in part by the El Paso Community Foundation. Sound off on what matters to you, Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m., and let's talk El Paso.
What is it like to be a corporate executive with today's woke mob trying to hold you hostage? We'll talk to Jennifer Say, who lost her job for speaking out against school closures during COVID. Listen to The Truth with Lisa Booth every Monday and Thursday, but you can listen throughout the week on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This report is sponsored by the Truth with Lisa Booth podcast.
Always just minutes away from the latest news around town and around the world.
It's important to know what's going on, especially around the world.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
If you see something, why do you say something?
I see safe for my friends.
For my community.
For everyone here. We all have something worth protecting, a why that unifies us. Report suspicious activity to local authorities. If you see something, say something.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Welcome back to Talk El Paso, airing on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages, again, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, either under Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk. Keep those comments going there. We'll pop up the most relevant ones during this continued interview right now, as well as taking more of them afterwards. Getting closer to those phone lines being open as well, make no mistake there. But in the meantime, again, still joining us here in studio is Elizabeth Aragon, project manager with El Paso Electric. Thank you very much for sticking around with us today.
Of course.
Happy to speak with you about these things. So we were talking a bit before, and of course this whole time, about the smart meters, the rollout, and the way that you all are talking about them here. So we've had questions come up from the community and from our listeners kind of about how this works. One of the ones that has come up most recently from one of our listeners is particularly about solar. Y'all talk about it again, that website that I've been referencing, epelectric.com/smart meters, under the resource tab that you all have over there. You do mention the aspect of solar. And I mean, they got like some depictions of installations going on like a residential rooftop, and also mentioned the community solar. One of the questions we've had specifically is that I have noticed, and probably based on search history related to this, a lot of ads that I've been getting on the idea of solar installation, quote unquote, free solar out there, that at the very least when I tend to look at it, the fine print ends up being okay, no, you're still going to have to pay money, but over time it'll end up like paying for itself, or at least those are some of the arguments when it comes out there. So you do mention about the fact that El Paso Electric, that is, mentions on the idea that once a smart meter is installed, be easier to take advantage of El Paso Electric's community program. So just kind of on that core idea of solar, particularly in El Paso area. I know there are some state line differences. New Mexico handles things a little bit differently, but particularly for the majority of our El Paso listeners, when it comes to quote unquote free solar, is that really happening in reality? Is that actually a part of, the laws and, subsidies, et cetera, that exist here in Texas?
No, that's incorrect. There's no such thing as free solar. But, again, we do offer, El Paso Electric offers community solar program that you could be part of with a minimal charge. You could have access to utility scale solar where you access all the data. Take advantage of a solar facility, and then it gets divided amongst its customers.
So essentially some of the more like fields of solar panels that you all have. I want to say I've flown over some kind of not too far from like the Santa Teresa port of entry, at least where some of the original ones that were being utilized by y'all were. And then there's more like regional ones as well,
yes,
right?
That's correct. And this one, this expansion that we have is El Paso Electric owned and operated, and also built. by El Paso Electric.
Because even if someone does have solar panels, say, installed on their home, essentially the way it works in Texas anyway is that there is a base level charge regardless. So there is some, I mean, I know that there's national conversations about, selling power back to the utility. That does exist in some places, but essentially the way it's set up, again, Texas specifically was what we're referring to here. There will always be kind of a minimum charge. So there's not really possible to see a negative balance on your electric bill, right?
That's correct. It could go, it just depends on what season we are, right? And in terms of how good your solar is sized, your rooftop solar is sized, I'm sorry. And, how efficient it is and the time of the year as well, which is when you maximize that. But it can go, you'll always have a surcharge.
Okay, so important notes there. And again, that is specifically for our Texas listener base out there was considering that here. But you also wanted to make mention that, I mean, community solar, among other things, are some of what you're talking about as customer benefits beyond kind of the billing improvements alone that come along with the whole smart meter installation, right?
Yes, that's correct. We'll be able to get more accurate billing, more more reliability in terms of that, of understanding the customer's usage. And not only that, but customers will also be able to have better customer experience in terms of the stop, transfer, and start of service instead of waiting for somebody to go out there to connect or to bring you back online or connected. This will be automatic and can be done over the air as when you call customer service.
Kind of related to that, then we were discussing a bit how in some of the recent outages that we're seeing due to the weather events that we had in the region, the Mardi Gras map, as I refer to it, because little dots representing amount of outages of the singles to hundreds, they end up being, I think it's purple, green, and yellow, which is Mardi Gras colors to me. That information, I mean, you all do put it up, but that is based on pretty much who is saying that they are out of power, like calling directly, as opposed to direct detection of that, right?
That's correct. Now, these smart meters will also have a direct impact on our electric system, which will give us more insight as to where outages are occurring, and without customers having to call. El Paso Electric will already know where the outages are taking place and could give a better understanding to our customers of how much they could expect the outage to take before we go in service, or if there's a transformer that went out, or something in the area. We'll be able to have more insight as to where it happened and how quickly we can get you back up.
Okay. And again, if you're just joining us, guest right now is Elizabeth Aragon, project manager with El Paso Electric. Again, the website I'm referring to, and they have a lot of information on, of course, elpasoelectric.com, but I'm going to specifically refer to you to the elpasoelectric.com/smart meters with an S, epelectric.com/smart meters, epelectric.com/smart meters, where you can go for there. But you all also do have phone numbers available for people to call or get more information about this, right?
That is correct.
Okay, and we'll mention a few of those here in just a bit, since I know there are some out there that definitely have and need to continue having electric service that they can call there. But when it comes to then actually kind of some of the further impacts that come with the smart meters, we've had some concerns coming from our audience, among other things, about what this means for kind of related to the connections or part of it, but when it comes to the supply of electricity. Now, as far as I'm aware, no concerns about that necessarily locally, but there have been some national conversations about, in areas where there have been severe weather events more constant than we do, or when there have been high demand surges, like we kind of started to see maybe in some places more than usual last summer and in recent summers, that when there are issues with electrical supply, that this could be used to essentially ration electricity or cause people to not have as much direct control of how they're using their energy. How do you all respond or take that into consideration?
We just want to make it clear that, customers, we will offer programs, demand response programs that what we call those, where customers are always going to be able to volunteer for those, of course, right? Sign up for those programs. It's nothing that we're going to push through ourselves. Customers will have to sign up for those programs. And they always have the option to opt out as well. If there's let's say your thermostat, we want to raise your thermostat for whatever reason, right? That we're needing to do as far as to provide reliability on a very hot day, for instance. Then we will always give you the option to opt out.
So demand response programs is kind of the blanket for all of these kind of things. So you mentioned specifically a thermostat program. What would that look like, and what kind of impact would that be? What would be for someone considering this or wondering, okay, what would be the benefit to me to enroll in this? What information are y'all putting out about that?
As far as I would encourage customers to call our customer service to get more information on these programs. But pretty much how they work is that customers can opt in or sign up with their thermostats, depending on what thermostat brands they have, and be able to get some rebates and some benefits to them. But please, I would encourage the customers to call customer service to get more info on those demand response programs we have, and other energy efficiency programs we offer as well.
So essentially kind of the upside of why the question is, why would someone sign up for this, is that there are bill impacts that they would see about this. I know that there are previous programs that you all have had that I at various times have used myself along the lines of kind of leveling out of usage rates, kind of averaging it up between seasons, those kind of things. So this would be kind of in that same vein when it comes to, again, individuals wondering about what possibilities are necessary for them when it comes to, these kind of programs, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. And so just on the idea, I know that there were some examples that have been brought up more regionally, not locally. I want to say it was a Colorado-based utility that had a similar-ish type of program that had been put forth. And the concept that at least some of the people who had been involved with it had said was that while they were gone, there would be certain ways that the thermostat was set, but they found themselves being locked out of it during very high temperatures and high usage points here. So when it comes to that level of concern about people basically no longer being in control, of course, you mentioned voluntary aspects of being able to sign up for it or opt out, etc. But when it comes to the idea of them being in their home and unable to kind of do what they need to, I think is what the major concern ends up coming down to. How do y'all respond to that?
We haven't had any complaint of that sort come around in our service territory, because again, we always offer our customers the option to opt out in case they don't want their thermostat to be raised or they don't want to participate in that particular event.
So, but when it comes to, of course, we're just talking about, currently no complaints on that. But once we see the rollouts then of the smart meters and those aspects of it here, again, concerns about basically a lack of control on the individual consumer. So when it comes to once we are at that standpoint, how, I guess, is El Paso Electric taking that into consideration, those level of concerns?
I think it goes to the opposite of that. There's actually, these smart meters will give the customer more control, right? And instead of a lack of control. They'll be able to, again, sign in to their portal and be able to see, their energy use. They'll also be given some more information on the demand response programs or other energy efficiency programs that they'll be able to participate in to save more money based on their actual consumption, instead of having a generalized idea of what their consumption was for the month. Now that they actually could see in comparison to the previous month or previous year. So again, it gives you more insight, more control for the customer.
I think that a part of the concerns that have been expressed to me on this program anyway previously about control really also come down to aspects of supply and ensuring supply and reliability in our area. Now, of course, I feel relevant at this point to make note that El Paso Electric is not part of the, at least in this area, ERCOT system and the rest of Texas grid. So that's definitely relevant as those conversations are going on, say, in the state legislative session right now. But just in our region and for our area, for these concerns, when it comes to reliability and amount of supply, what are some of the things El Paso Electric is working on to kind of ensure that stays available, considering that electricity is very much the lifeblood of not even just our community, our society, our civilization, in the 20th and now 21st century?
And we're always working towards enhancing our reliability and resiliency in our system. With these smart meters, that gives us even more insight for us into our electric system to see where we can make any preventative maintenance or actual improvements, right? That will continue for us to be reliable and resilient for our community.
All right. Again, guest right now has been Elizabeth Aragon, project manager with El Paso Electric, trying to address a lot of the concerns we have. I'm sure there'll be more conversation going on as we are then airing this interview. So, but again, thank you very much for coming in to talk with us about some of these big issues, some of the important things people need to know, and how it will impact them and the customers in our area here today.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
It was a pleasure.
Absolutely happy to discuss about this, and we're going to take that next break right now. And at this point, we'll also go ahead and open up those phone lines as we normally do at this point during the program. So I'm sure there'll be a lot further conversation that we will want to be getting into on this and the other things affecting us here in the borderland today. So that number, as usual, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. We'll be back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
On your El Paso freeways, I-10 eastbound at Zaragoza, earlier accident has been moved off to the right. An accident reported Alameda eastbound at Paisano Drive. Stopped vehicle on the 54 Patriot northbound. It's blocking the Ellerthorpe Avenue exit. And a crash reported northbound Americas Avenue at Socorro. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Audible. Find everything you love listening to on Audible. Hear celebrity memoirs, mysteries, true crime, sci-fi, and more. Audible is the home of storytelling, audiobooks, podcasts, and originals. Sign up for a free 30-day trial at audible.com.
I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I love Navage. I've told you about how your nose is the body's air filter, that Navage's powered suction will help flush out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs, and that Navage will help you breathe better. But what do other people say about Navage? Like Haley, quote, Navage is the best thing I bought. I love it. My nose feels so clear now and I can breathe. I've been struggling with a stuffy nose for weeks. I bought Navage and it's amazing. Or this one. I use Navage every night, could not imagine life without it. I have 5 cats, and before I found Navage, I was a clogged mess. Now I breathe so much better, unquote. Those are 2 of over 100,000 online reviews praising Navage, the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million people to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, CVS, Walgreens, Target, Rite Aid, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E, clean nose, healthy life.
An orthopedic surgeon makes understanding pain painless.
It's the biggest frustration that patients have.
This is Dr. Pamela Mehta talking about aches with unexpected origins.
I see patients with pain in their knees, their hips, their back. Oftentimes, the pain is actually coming from their feet.
Bet they aren't expecting to hear that.
Those patients are super surprised. They can't believe that the pain in their knee isn't coming from actually inside the knee. But if you think about it, the feet are the base to your whole body.
That's why she suggests personally fit arch supports. Emphasis on the personal fit.
If you get something basing it just on your shoe size, it isn't going to fit you properly.
And if it doesn't fit well, it probably won't work well.
Go get arch supports fitted to you. It's as easy as going into a Good Feet store.
You heard the doctor. Try Good Feet for yourself with a free fitting and test walk. Learn more at goodfeet.com.
Airway Boulevard at I-10.
Hey guys, it's Lisa Booth. How big a role does China play in the fentanyl crisis? Senator Marsha Blackburn joins me on The Truth with Lisa Booth to get to the bottom of it. And listen to The Truth with Lisa Booth every Monday and Thursday, but you can listen throughout the week on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you find your podcast.
Stay informed at KTSMradio.com. El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages, and as very much expected, whether it be Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch, or anywhere in between. A lot of conversation coming up and having been asked about when it comes to the interview for today. So again, thanks to our guests from El Paso Electric to talk about the smart meters and try to address at least some of the questions that y'all have had, or at least brought up. There's been more brought up in the course of this, has been fully expected. So I'm going to address a couple of them here, include Angel Rueda, who asked very specifically about including disconnections. I do believe we mentioned that one as part of this, and also disconnections. So information I've got here, but there are some things we'll be following up on, and I'm collecting those from what y'all are either sending me or have mentioned in the comments here. But do, of course, want to mention we do have that phone line open as well. If you want to chime in that way, that number to do so, of course, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. So getting to Angel Rueda's question, asking, what about the customers that are always behind in their payments? Will it be easier to shut down their power with the smart meter? Essentially, without trying to put words in their mouth, they will be able to do remote disconnections that way, as opposed to having to have someone come on site. So short answer to your question, yes, though I'm sure there are further, asterisks that are involved in that kind of a statement, as well as some other things going on there, including what the costs are. This was brought up by a different caller previous in the week, but as I mentioned over there, the epelectric.com/smart meters does have a lot of this information. This one you'll find right at the bottom of the FAQ page on opting out. Can I opt out of getting a smart meter? Short answer, yes, is what they say here. They do have in bold, their emphasis, not mine, is actually more expensive to opt out of receiving a smart meter. So the fees for each opt-out option within Texas anyway, it is going to have a monthly recurring fee of $13.44 monthly. And then the fees for, say, keep an existing meter would be a one-time fee of $106.67. For replacing an existing meter with an analog meter, it would be $143.58, and replacing a smart meter with a non-smart meter as $171.21. So that's directly off of epelectric.com. And for those of y'all wondering why I wasn't screaming at this person, that's not how we do things here. So hopefully we are addressing some of the questions y'all have had. If you were dissatisfied with the answer, well, that's also the other part we do here. We can talk about it. So again, we have those phone lines open. We got to take that next break right now, but we'll come back top of the hour, get back to those phone lines and get to y'all's question and discussion about it. Again, that's the part that I think y'all really forget sometimes, or at least some out there forget, is that we can talk about it. This is not a, hey, take the information and suck it if you don't like it. But no, that's not how this works. We can talk about it, so we'll do that after this next break. So remember that phone number, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Earlier crash on I-10 eastbound at Zaragoza is in the clearing stages. Police are still on the scene there. Slow traffic on the I-10 eastbound remains from Hawkins to Zaragoza with 5-minute delays. I-10 westbound at Yarborough on-ramp, an injury accident reported, and a crash in the lower valley, Americas Avenue northbound at Socorro. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
Hey, El Paso, Ivan Ochoa, General Manager of Sunland Park Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram Fiat. Our goal is to make March an all-time record month in sales, so we'll do whatever it takes to make a deal. Don't wait. Visit us today for huge savings.
Save big on hundreds of new and certified pre-owned vehicles during Ram Truck Month at Sunland Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Upside down your car, truck, or SUV? We want it, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Right now, get $3,000 off MSRP on 2023 Ram 1500s, plus super low 4.9% APR for 72 months. Get $4,000 off MSRP on 2023 Jeep Gladiator Sport, or $4,500 off MSRP on 2023 Jeep Grand Cherokee L models. Worried about your credit? Don't sweat it. Our lenders will push to approve your credit, even if your credit is less than perfect. Trade and upgrade for less at Sunland Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, where buying a car is fun. At I-10 at Sunland Park Drive, or online at sunlandparkdodge.com. Estamos en tu esquina, El Paso. El Paso Strong. Includes factory rebate and dealer discount plus TTNL. 4.9% APR is $1,606 per thousand finance. On select vehicles with approved credit. Offers not combined.
Kids dream big. Protect your child's dreams by keeping them healthy. If your son or daughter is age 11 or 12, the American Cancer Society recommends giving them the HPV vaccine to help prevent HPV cancers later. Learn more at cancer.org/dreambig.
The most current and comprehensive. Just minutes away at the top and bottom of the hour, and always online at KTSMradio.com. News on the hour and the hat. Traffic and weather all day. News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
NBC News Radio. I'm Brian Shook. Top defense officials say they're not sure if Russia intentionally downed a U.S. drone flying over the Black Sea.
We know that the intercept was intentional. We know
Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark Milley, said Russian jets intended to intercept the drone, but it's not clear if they collided with it on purpose. While Russia has denied its jets made contact with the drone, Milley said the U.S. has absolute evidence that's the case. Goldman Sachs is lowering its 2023 economic growth forecast over concerns about the strength of the banking sector. The firm lowered its growth forecast to 1.2%. The president is laying out his plans to lower prescription drug costs. While speaking to healthcare professionals in Las Vegas, President Biden highlighted provisions in the Inflation Reduction Act that are starting to take effect, including capping the cost of insulin at $35 for seniors on Medicare. House Republicans moved forward with a congressional hearing at the U.S.-Mexico border today, despite the absence of Democrats. Lisa Taylor has more.
Tennessee Congressman Mark Green, the chair of the House Homeland Security Committee, questioned U.S. Border Patrol Chief Raul Ortiz as part of the hearing in Pharr, Texas, near the border, in response to a question from Green on if the Department of Homeland Security had operational control of the entire border. Ortiz replied, no. Democratic members of the committee boycotted the hearing, claiming the Republicans were only trying to score political points, holding it outside of Washington, D.C. I'm Lisa Taylor.
Honda is issuing recalls for many of their models of vehicles. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says the recall is for more than 448,000 vehicles, as it noted the driver and front passenger seat belts may not latch correctly. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio. The Senate's top Democrat is calling on federal regulators to expand their investigation into Norfolk Southern to include other major railroads. Majority Leader Chuck Schumer urged the NTSB to broaden its investigation to include all Class 1 freight rail companies following the toxic derailment in East Palestine, Ohio. An Alabama man is in custody after 4 people were shot to death in 2 homes.
Police say a 28-year-old man is accused of fatally shooting 2 people at a home in Birmingham and 2 more in a nearby suburb. Sheriff's deputies found a woman dead in the driveway of a home in suburban Raglan late Monday night into Tuesday, and a fatally wounded man inside. Police arrested the suspect around 6 a.m., and he allegedly told the arresting officer he also shot 2 people in Birmingham. Officers went to the home the man described and found a man and woman inside dead from apparent gunshot wounds. I'm Michael Kastner.
Parts of New York Governor Hochul's budget proposal are facing major pushback from Democratic lawmakers. Natalie Migliori has the details.
The New York State Legislature formally opposed the governor's plan to change the state's cashless bail reform. Lawmakers' budget proposal suggested the focus should instead be on reentry programs and crime prevention. They're also against a proposal that would incentivize developers to build affordable housing, a major part of Hochul's plan to build 800,000 units within the next decade. New York's budget is due April 1st, but sticking points could prevent it from being delivered on time. I'm Natalie Migliori.
A new launch date is set for a historic launch along Florida's Space Coast. The U.S. Space Force says Relativity Space is targeting another attempt for its first ever fully 3D printed rocket later this week. The company is looking at a launch window that would begin at 1 a.m. on Friday. Officials say weather is almost perfect for a scheduled liftoff at Launch Complex 16 in Cape Canaveral. Brian Shook, NBC News Radio.
This report is sponsored by the Ben Ferguson Podcast.
Are you a domestic terrorist because you want to know what happened on January the 6th? Coming up on the Ben Ferguson Podcast, Tucker Carlson and others are being accused of being exactly that, just for showing you the tape. I'm going to expose who's behind this plan to attack all of us. Download the Ben Ferguson Podcast now.
The podcast Let's Start a Coup wonders, what if a secret cabal of the nation's most powerful people tried to overthrow the president? Explore how it almost happened to FDR in the 1930s in this darkly comedic retelling of one of American history's weirdest schemes.
And for you, Major General Smedley Butler, nothing will ever be the same.
Why? Is it something bad?
Listen to Let's Start a Coup on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
And now for today's Roblox winter weather alert. iHeartland on Roblox has been walloped by a winter snowstorm. It is a winter wonderland. You can now ice skate at State Farm Park. In State Farm Neighborhood, you can compete in snowball fights, grab a hot cocoa and cookies, and more. There's also special events from your favorite artists and podcasters all month, along with scavenger hunts, exclusive content, and unique items. So enjoy the festive winter weather at iHeartland on Roblox. Head to iHeartRadio.com/iHeartland today.
Sweetie, want some fruit? You have to use the right tool for the job. A power drill is the wrong tool to slice fruit. Just like an antibiotic is the wrong tool to treat viruses, including colds and flu. Antibiotics are only needed for certain bacterial infections. When they aren't needed, antibiotics won't help you, and the side effects could still hurt you. Ask your healthcare professional when an antibiotic is the right tool and when it's not. Visit cdc.gov/antibiotic-use.
Next Thursday, you will be caught in an extreme flash flood.
Disasters don't plan ahead, but you can. Talk to your loved ones about making an emergency plan. Get started today at ready.gov/plan. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. A lot of people chiming in, tuning in, or submitting a lot of different things, even messages and emails during this last interview, which we tried to forestall or predict anyway. Some of the questions coming up, including what y'all had mentioned, among other things, including the whole solar disconnections, other stuff like that, and the information being gathered. But it's always more than so. Gathering up some of what y'all have brought up to do some follow-ups with El Paso Electric on that, on the whole smart meter subject, because it's not a simple one here. And Ion Grimm bringing up, among other things, saying, thought we wanted you to scream at her? No, I think most people want to know what is being talked about and what's being presented here, but there are some people who seem to take it, if I don't go at this, like, okay, we're not John Stossel here, among other things. Wish I had his producers, but also we are just trying to present basic information, because we're never quite sure how some parts of our audience are going to know what the baseline is, or will have heard about these issues before as much as we have ended up talking about them. So we try to kind of get out basic information, and then the upshot is we then talk about it. So that's just more of a show formatting thing that some people get it and some people don't. And let's just say it's some segments of that end up being a little bit louder than the other part of it. So, some of the questions coming in, among other things, I will say that what Ion Grimm brought up about meetings and response to it was not part of what we were discussing here today. And if anyone's wondering about how this got set up, we had mentioned it kind of last week when we were talking about some of the customer service implications going on right now, which is kind of what Ion Grimm was referring to there as well. But we made it clear that we wanted to talk about smart meters, so they came prepared to talk about smart meters and the programs related to it. It's because the way these kind of interviews work is we don't just say, hey, El Paso Electric, come over here. We got just a bunch of questions to ask you. No, I won't tell you what they are. It's okay, these are the general subjects we want to discuss with you. Can we schedule an interview on this to then go through it? We don't pre-submit questions, because that's just not how we do things. And if there's a requirement of that, I will end up not doing that kind of interview unless we make it perfectly clear. And it's just not the kind of thing I prefer to do. But transparency with y'all is important, among other things. So if there's any agreements or other things going on with any of our interviewers, we certainly do try to make that clear. Eric McNabb asking if they're a sponsor of the show specifically. They are not. They may be on these stations overall, but we do make independent programming decisions when it comes to this. So they have no direct bearing on editorial decisions made on this show here. Mark Mandingo asking another one of the set of questions coming up specifically. So this is going to cost money and a day off work to let them in. I think she mentioned that the swap out wouldn't take a full day. I think she said on the order of minutes, if not hours, along those lines here. And one more question that did come up here that we did discuss kind of a bit, or at the very least it got brought up. Gilberto Barquin asking, can you ask what the rate difference is when they want you to lower your usage? There are a few different programs, particularly once the smart meter rollout is happening. One of the things that we talked about right after, because I realized I didn't ask it explicitly during the interview, is the kind of time frames. They do have, if you go to that epelectric.com/smart meters, they do have a map that we're trying to figure out a way to put it up on screen, but it's kind of small and detailed, and you really have to go and look for it yourself. I'm sorry, it's an interactive map, so it's some of the areas are very small and just don't show up that well, but they show pretty much the entire coverage area for El Paso Electric where this rollout will be happening. And again, it starts in kind of central, essentially, let's call it south of or within Loop 375, kind of in general, both on the east and west side of the mountain, and then kind of expanding out of that further on. Later on, it'll kind of go, the next point would be the northern part of El Paso County, among other things, in southern New Mexico, Mission Valley, out towards the kind of the entirety of I-10, those kind of things. So I would recommend you go and look for it for yourself there to find that. And so one of the things they said is that once this rollout happens, there will be a lot of different options or potentials when it comes to a rate reduction program. So what they encourage you to do is call their customer service to find the information. So realize we also didn't mention those numbers explicitly during the interview. So here are some of those numbers as we have them available. The immediate El Paso Electric assistance line is 915-543-5711. So this is for if you're having issues or anything else in general going on with your electric service, 915-543-5711. But then for customer service, since we're talking primarily about Texas, we'll mention that number right now. That number is 915-543-5970. Again, 915-543-5970. So don't have exact numbers on that part of it. And James Radcliffe asking, okay, there's still a lot of questions coming up here, and we got more follow-ups we'll be doing, including why is the monthly charge changed here? I want to say that it's been that way ever since I was looking at those numbers. So be curious, James Radcliffe asking there why it went down from 35 to 1344. So be curious to know when the time frame you first saw that is, because ever since I kind of became aware of this and started looking into it, that's the number I've seen consistently enough, but that's been on the order of, say, weeks to months and not necessarily over the entire time of this. So just want to know kind of what time frame you saw that original number you're mentioning there. And John Browson also asking what programs are available to protect sick people who need heat in the winter or air conditioning in the summer, protect them from ending up in the hospital. Also, what comes to mind for me, kind of along those lines, is also people who have medical devices in their homes, whether it be, respirators, nebulizers, or just other like in-home medical equipment that require power and reduction or dealing with outages, brownouts, as some other people ended up mentioning. Yeah, those are serious things. So we got some follow-ups here. We're collecting them here, so keep them coming. But also, let's get to those phone lines now, because we do have people on there. Again, that number to call, full up at the moment, but the number is 915-544-5876-544 KTSM. We do have Johnny over in Central on the line with us here right now. Johnny, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, so good afternoon. Before I get to the reason for my call,
Mm-hmm.
I just want to pass some information on to Frankie that I was at McGregor Range today.
Okay.
Which is about 40 miles from here. And matter of fact, I was coming from McGregor Range when I started this call with you. About at the top of the last hour.
Oh, okay.
I was coming in very clear, right?
Yeah, I would say so.
So he might want to try that. I don't know what part of New Mexico he's in, but he might want to try using the cell phone. That's what I'm trying to say. My cell phone trusts me better than I trust my radio. But anyway, let me get to the reason for the call. The reason for the call is it's nothing personal. It's nothing political. It's all about the city manager's salary. And I did some research, and listeners, they can follow up on the research too. And I hope that some of the listeners are listening, and then also some of the people from City Hall is listening, because it's very, very discouraging when I, did the comparison. City manager, get right to it, pulls in $436 and some change every year, and he has about 6 jobs that he does, and he also has other benefits such as $15,000 for compensations. He has $500 a month for a car, $2,500 a month for housing, and another $10,000 when he relocates. He or she, as I said, it's not him personally. And I compared his salary with the the city hall, the mayor and the 8 representatives. The mayor pulls in about 58,000.
Oh, sure.
Each representative pulls in about 36,000. Combined, it's about $350,000, all 9 people. And so right there, that city manager job pays more than all 9 of our representatives. Also, that job pays more than the Texas governor's job, which is $153,000, and more than $400,000, which is the president. Now I know that the governor and the president, they probably have other expenses, but I'm talking about base salary. That's what I'm talking about today.
Sure.
So I just wish that our leaders, I just wish somebody would explain to us why our city manager, and I looked at his job description. I don't want to take up your time about what he does, but he doesn't look like that much. Well, $436 plus benefits. And I never been in a firm where the employee makes more than the employer. What I'm trying to say is the mayor and the city council hire this person, and that person makes, like I say, more than all of them together. So I just wish someone who was listening would phone in with the city hall or some of the people out in the community, or maybe you, and just kind of explain to me and the rest of the people who don't understand why this job. Now, I'm not saying get rid of the job. I'm just saying lower the salary way down, not more than the president of the United States. Your thoughts?
Oh, no, I get that entirely here. Okay, if you want a short answer about why there's this differences of salary, at least functionally anyway, maybe not like what the decision makers were thinking, is that the city manager's salary is set by contract, and just city council and the mayor's salary is set by, I would still argue it's still currently set by formulas based on votes that El Paso took. So city manager is contract, city council is what we have voted on. And in previous, I think 2004, actually, as we were talking in some previous weeks about how the whole city manager form of government came about, that votes on it, that was actually a vote that happened at that point in time, at that same vote what was going on for the charter amendment to switch to the city manager, when there was a raise for city council on the ballot, and it ended up failing. So if you're wondering why that hasn't come up in a few years, by the way, it actually is that there was, I want to say it was 2017 or 2016. I need to refresh my memory on the exact date. It was one of the charter amendment votes that said it so that city council and the mayor have a formula that is now based on what their compensation gets them, because they are, okay, another thing is they are technically a part-time city council, which I don't know if I fully agree with or really like the idea of, but that's the way it is right now. I mean, there have been, even in recent years, city council members, Dr. No comes to mind just from the time I was most actively haranguing people on city council. He had a full-time medical practice that he would often have to then leave to then go to the city council meetings, the pre-ones. I'm not really sure how feasible that is these days, given that we've got these full days, multiple days a week kind of city council meetings. But yeah, that's a separate issue there, frankly. But that's the fact of the matter is, so yeah, we got a contract versus what individual Pasoans are able to vote on here. But let's also say that the way you put it there, the kind of comparison of the entirety of city council versus the city manager's salary, maybe that would be a better limitation for any future such contracts, as opposed to a $450,000 per year was what this most recent contract was going to be limited to. He didn't quite reach that level because, well, there was the whole contract termination and notice to terminate that has now, we're in the, just over 100 days now, give or take, from that going into late June, early July. And so maybe saying that, yeah, it cannot be more than the combined total of city council salaries would put it into maybe a little bit more perspective.
Yeah, I'll say this and get out of the way. I wish we would come up with some kind of way to change the contract, do something, because this is very annoying. This guy makes more than the whole city hall and the mayor himself. And that's just, I don't know. It's just, I'm quite sure a lot of other people feel the same as I do. But anyway, I like how you explained it to me. I wish we would be able to vote on a contract or whatever it is. Just lower the salary and let them stay, but bring that salary down. That's way too much. And that's all I have to say. Okay.
Well, I appreciate the perspective and your a little bit of a research into the numbers there. It always helps give perspective on things. So do appreciate the point in the call. You have a good one.
You too. Thank you.
All right. With that here, tell you what, we are overdue for that next break here already. We're getting into some stuff here, but I appreciate the way we're going about it so far. Anyway, so we'll go ahead and take that break. We got calls on the line. If you're on there, stay there. If you're wanting to get on the line, that number, of course, to do so is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
A couple of crashes this afternoon in the I-10 eastbound, slowing down a little bit from the Patriot to the Loop with 5-minute delays. I-10 eastbound at Lomaland is the latest crash. An accident is moving to the right shoulder. It's also partially blocking the exit ramp. Expect delays. 54 Patriot northbound at Ellerthorpe stopped a vehicle blocking the exit ramp. And an accident reported in the East Valley westbound on Edgemere at Tierra Este. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
On the free iHeartRadio app, you never pay to hear what you love, and you never wait to hear what you want. Save your money, save your time, and listen anywhere. Download the free iHeartRadio app for all your music, radio, and podcasts.
iHeartRadio. This report is sponsored by the Truth with Lisa Booth podcast.
What is it like to be a corporate executive with today's woke mob trying to hold you hostage? We'll talk to Jennifer Say, who lost her job for speaking out against school closures during COVID. Listen to the Truth with Lisa Booth every Monday and Thursday, but you can listen throughout the week on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome to the CPAP Games live from the Hayes bedroom. It's another eventful night, Bruce.
It sure is, Ron. Steve has been struggling with his CPAP.
His wife, Michelle, is trying to contain her rage.
Michelle throws an elbow.
She's leaving for the couch.
Steve should get Inspire.
Absolutely, Bruce. Inspire is a sleep apnea treatment that gives you comfortable, restful sleep with the click of a remote. There's no mask and no hose. Just sleep.
Learn more at inspiresleep.com.
Inspire is not for everyone. Talk to your doctor to see if it's right for you and review important safety information at inspiresleep.com.
Make the right choice for your home when it comes to windows and doors. For more than 20 years, the Window Depot has provided the best price and biggest inventory on in-stock windows and doors. The Window Depot is open to the public, so whether you're a homeowner or a contractor, you can shop the enormous warehouse. Browse the shelves with over 1,000 vinyl windows, interior and patio doors and skylights in several varieties and sizes available to go home today. Shop thewindowdepot.com or find a location near you. Lowest prices, biggest inventory.
Okay, so how crazy high are these gas prices right now, right? I mean, I filled up my car the other day, and I thought for that price, I could buy a couple of pairs of Skechers and pretty much walk everywhere. Plus, unlike gas, not only is Skechers affordable, they also last a really long time. Skechers are extremely durable, and many are machine washable, and they're so comfortable. With comfort features like Skechers' famous air-cooled memory foam, Relax Fit, Wide Fit, Arch Fit, plus so many other fits and features. Find your perfect pair of Skechers at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, or wherever stylish footwear is sold.
Dazzling decal on Daisy's Donuts window. Bold banner at Barry's Barbershop. Prominent poster at Penny's on Park Place.
This is your sign. Well, signs. To try Staples and see the difference. Get $15 off signs, banners, and posters when you spend $75 or more.
From Staples, and I couldn't miss it.
Ends 4/15. Visit staplesconnect.com/printbig for details.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, either under Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk. So a lot of stuff we're talking about here today, including, of course, some major subjects that we're still exploring. A lot of discussion now getting into city salaries, among other things. And James Radcliffe, pointing out city manager forum started February 7th, 2004. After that, again, related charter amendment vote that happened at that point in time here. So if you're wanting to have any more about this and add your 2 cents, of course, got that phone line open. Should unfortunately caller drop there, but if you want to get on the line, it's now available, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. And I mean, okay, there's an argument going on about the idea that getting people paid their worth. I've often said in the past that, think about the way that we, particularly when it comes to city elected officials. There's the whole idea of, servant leadership out there, that people should be willing to serve their community, but also think about the level of skills, knowledge, expertise, etc., that we would expect out of any of our elected officials. And then think about, list it out, even just conceptually, and then think about the amount of salary that you would, someone in the private sector would be willing to accept for that. Now, sure, it's not an exact one-to-one comparison, I would say, because, if someone just wants to make money, they're going to go towards the private sector. But is it anywhere near commiserate with what is being asked for with those knowledge, skills, experience, etc.? And that might be at least part of some of the issue we end up having. Again, the formula that's now in place, I want to say, without being 100% sure on my wording here, that I think it's now tied to median income in El Paso. Median household income is what I believe it is. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. That for city council members here in El Paso, that they get the median household income as their salary. So technically better than average, or median anyway, because they're one individual receiving that. And then the mayor is like 1.5 times that. So compare that to, among other things, we haven't talked about this too much lately because it doesn't get talked about that often lately, honestly, is what happens with the county commissioner's court, which even as of last check, I want to say that the county judge is over 6 figures, like low 6 figures. I'm not saying it's even like into the 2 or 3s or anything like that, but like 100,000 and change by last check. And that individual county commissioners were reaching that level. I think they were in like the 70s or 80s by last check. It's been a minute since I've checked, to be honest with you. So that's just some further perspective there. But if you're saying, I mean, reality is also on the ground here in El Paso, I would argue, are very important. And the fact that, yeah, that's median income being around, $30,000, $40,000 a year, because we do still have some of the poorest zip codes in the country, that just saying city size is also not necessarily a completely accurate or apples to apples comparison, because a lot of the other places that mention, like regionally, like Phoenix, Albuquerque, or even out to like, say, I think Lubbock was on that list, if I'm not mistaken, about what has previously been mentioned about how the city manager's salary and contract was drawn up or approved. Some of the national searches is that, well, there's stuff around them, is the best way I can think to put it. There are like suburbs and other cities, another greater population. Albuquerque is actually a great example, because Albuquerque is technically a smaller population than El Paso. I think in like the 500,000 to 600,000 as of last check. I mean, I've checked since the last census numbers came out, so I might need to double check that one. But they have like other towns and things around them. So city size is not necessarily solely a good, I would argue, measure of the actual like size economically of an area. And I think that there are some big things that are still being worked on here in El Paso, but just saying is, well, we're the same as that, therefore we should do the same thing as them. El Paso is different than anywhere else I've lived, worked, traveled even. And so trying to say that, well, we should just do it the same as everywhere else, that just kind of doesn't end up working out that well here, does it? We do things our own way, and part of the reason I think we should talk about them. So to that point here, again, phone line 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. We do have Frankie and Messia on the line with us here right now. Frankie, thanks for joining us.
Okay, right out of the box. Congratulations to your radio engineer. Your signal is coming in 5 by 5. With all this wind going on here, they're coming in crystal clear. So give him a raise. Give him a raise right now. I don't care what he's making. Double it. He's a great radio engineer. Now, having said that, I know you like to talk about local issues.
Sure.
All right? I got a local issue for you. We'll have to finesse that a little bit because it's not specifically on the border, but it is in Texas.
Okay.
And to that I speak of, this guy, this judge, this federal judge, Matthew Kasmerick, up there in Amarillo, okay, at the northern Texas panhandle up there, right? And he is going on and been the nut jobs, these anti-abortion nut jobs, are going and judge shopping for him because he's supposed to rule rightly, his blind, and everybody else in the abortion thing, that they want to get rid of this anti-abortion pill thing that everybody else in the United States is okay with for the last 20, 25 years, what the heck ever it is. I don't understand what it is with these conservatives out there. They didn't learn their lesson in 2022. They got slammed 14 different ways to Sunday, mostly by the babes in the United States of America, who don't like men telling them what to do with their body. Now, I just don't get that, where this nut job is out there installed by the Donnie Don't Talk to. I'm not going to say he was appointed. He was installed. And so that's my opening rant. What do you think of that?
Yeah, that definitely is going on, and I've seen a lot of coverage going on nationally and even other statewide outlets on that. And yeah, that is happening within Texas. Yeah, that Judge Matthew Kasmerick ruling on the mifepristone. I don't know if I'm saying that right here. I'd looked at pronunciation earlier to make sure I'd be able to say it right, but I'm missing it. Mifepristone. Never actually had to say that word out loud before. Anyway, point is that, yeah, that's going on. And I think that some of the ideas behind it are, pretty clear in terms of the cases, among other things, wanting to remove the ability for that to happen. There are anti-abortion activists out there. The specific arguments they're making in this case is that, wanting to suspend and have ultimate withdrawal of the FDA's approval of the medication. So I don't think it's exactly a secret or surprising why this is being moved on, though I will say that particularly for like a district court judge, this will be depending on how he rules, huge implications, not even just within Texas, or the district, but nationwide.
Well, you're absolutely correct. But let me just say, you did pronounce it correctly.
Oh, okay.
If you have to say it ever again, just say Miffy. It's a lot simpler to say Miffy than the whole thing. You know what I'm saying? But let me say, this guy, during his confirmation hearing in front of the Senate, actually stated, he says, okay, more or less in so many words, I learned my lesson. I'm not going to be a nut job. I'm going to rule as a normal thinking judge. And as soon as he got confirmed, they go off the reservation again. It's just nuts. It's the same thing with three of these the Supreme Court people who flat lied during their confirmation and turned upside down the whole Roe v. Wade thing. They said, no. It's all settled law. We're not going to. And what do? They just flat lied, Andrew, and everybody else out there. And that's just sick. That's just sick. And that's my ending comment.
All right, well, we'll see. I don't think I think the judge in this case, arguments were heard, I think, each side. It was either total 2 hours or 2 hours per each side in this case, hearing those arguments today. I know there was a lot of people kerfuffle even over the ability of coverage for that. But I think at this point, the judge in this case has said that, he will rule as soon as possible, quote unquote, on the request for this preliminary injunction. So another one we'll keep our eye on, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of national coverage on as well.
Well, okay. Well, we just covered that ground. Well, let me just say something. I understand, if I correctly, it's been 100 days since your city manager vacated his position. Oh, wait a minute. You in El Paso, all you folks out there, you're still okay. The lights are on. The police are out there. The fire department is working. What the heck do you need another city manager for? Save the money. That's what I want to say.
So slight correction there. He's got 100 days left on the job is what it comes down to. But in the same vein, actually kind of what you're referring to there actually has now been named a interim city manager that will take over in the meantime. What the mayor has said basically is that they're not looking to remove the city manager form of government at this point in time, though I will add my personal, that may be his perspective, but I have some other suspicions of other intentions based on, what other current city council members have said that might be on the horizon. That's a little bit cloudy crystal ball territory, but I have some expectations about what might come after that.
Well, you got to save a dime here and there. Let's say here in our great little downtown Mesilla, we got our great mayor, Nora Barraza. She just everything. She does everything by herself. Well, she's got a little help too. But gee whiz, our little town works fine without uploading $14,000 people a year to help the thing out. You folks in El Paso need to look at this and say, do we need this many people to make our city work? And you could save a few dollars. That's what I want to say.
No, well, fair enough. Appreciate the point in the call. You have a good one.
Okay, Andrew, you take care.
You as well there. So with that, we're going to go ahead and take that next quick break right now, get back on track. If you want to get on the line again yourself, as has been demonstrated, that number to do so is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello, I'm Erica Castillo with this KFOX 14 News Update. It's been over a year since El Paso city leaders looked to revise El Paso's noise ordinance, and yet there have been no changes. A spokesperson with the city of El Paso says the city is still looking to secure a third-party consultant, which is why no modifications have been made to the city's current noise ordinance. This comes almost 9 months after city leaders tabled a proposal to make numerous changes to the noise ordinance. The city's current ordinance allows for 70 decibels or less after midnight, and 7 people are injured. It happened this afternoon after a tree fell on a family at the San Antonio Zoo. At about 12:05 p.m., a tree branch unexpectedly broke loose and fell on the guests, injuring them. San Antonio Zoo security and EMT team quickly responded and started treating them. 1 person was taken to the hospital in critical condition. 6 others were hospitalized. I'm Erica Castillo with this KFOX 14 News Update.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
Couple of crashes this afternoon in the I-10 eastbound, slowing down a little bit from the Patriot to the Loop with 5-minute delays. I-10 eastbound at Loma Land is the latest crash. An accident is moved to the right shoulder. It's also partially blocking the exit ramp. Expect delays. 54 Patriot northbound at Ellerthorpe, stopped a vehicle blocking the exit ramp, and an accident reported in the East Valley westbound on Edgemere at Tierra Este. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Montgomery. Big weather changes coming our way for the end of the week and the weekend. For tomorrow, it looks like we'll see temperatures around 70 degrees, still breezy to windy conditions for your Thursday, 20% chance of a shower. For Friday, partly cloudy skies, much cooler, not 70s, but a high around 57 on Friday, high only around 59 for your Saturday with a 20% chance of a shower. From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Montgomery.
This report is sponsored by Staples Stores. During Staples Teacher Palooza, teachers save big, or you save. Save 25% on classroom decor and up to 40% on brands like Post-it, Papermate, and Elmer's. In-store only, offer ends 4/1 while supplies last. Help your favorite teachers stock their classroom at Staples.
On Ice-T's Daily Game podcast, the cultural icon unveils words of wisdom and motivational quotes he's collected over the years. No punches are pulled as Ice shares his special brand of profound and brutal honesty on topics like romance, success, failure, and more.
You can't sit back and say, I'm going to win this game and not go to practice. You still got to play that game. Faith and your mind is just not going to make it happen.
Listen to Ice-T's Daily Game on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
The first days for a baby in this new world are so important. That's why El Paso Children's Hospital provides the most specialized advanced level 4 NICU in the Borderland region. Plus, we have board-certified physicians. There's only one El Paso Children's Hospital.
The El Paso Community Foundation supports the causes you feel passionate about here in the Borderland, whether it's education, social services, arts and culture, the environment, health, or economic development. The El Paso Community Foundation has been promoting philanthropy and progress in our hometown region for more than 45 years. Make your mark with us. Start a fund today for good, for El Paso, forever. Learn more at epcf.org. That's epcf.org.
Should married couples go into business together? This week on Red Pilled America, we dive into that question. After 20 years of being married and working together, you could say we're experts on the subject. Listen to Red Pilled America anywhere you get podcasts. That's Red Pilled America.
This report is sponsored by Red Pilled America.
News on the hour and a half. Traffic and weather all day. Keeping you informed and up to date. El Paso's News Radio, 690 KTSM. El Paso's News Radio, 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media channels we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. And a lot of conversation on, I guess, yeah, that's one thing that happens when we take calls. Things may go a little bit differently than expected, but still a lot of conversation about some of the major topics we have of today, as well as more going on with now the city manager salary idea of it, including Rick Reyes just saying that last year's city council extended the city manager Contract 5 years until 2029. This contract was going to expire 2024. Before that, plus a got my zeros right here, a $20,000 bonus. And then I'm assuming that's the representation of an expletive. I appreciate for you not actually typing it out. Another one about the CO of the water company, about $350,000 a year. That one's a little bit different, though, is related. It's pseudo city. That's a more complicated picture, honestly, for you. Because, well, let's just say there is involvement with actual elected officials there, if not actually determining that. I mean, that's, I guess, what it comes down to, is that the city manager form of government we have right now, the city manager itself is not elected, but is selected by people who are elected by us. And so the whole representative form of government kind of concept. And so I'm wondering if potentially, if there is to be any review or push towards changes or even removal of the city manager form of government. Again, I have my suspicions, nothing I can exactly point to just yet. If that a modification like that might be possible or amenable or of interest to people, honestly, with you, because I mean, there are some benefits I think we have had from the whole city manager form of government, but I would say that one of the biggest frustrations, I mean, salary is, I'd rather see as a symptom of the larger issue of kind of being disconnected from the community, or at the very least directly accountable to the community. So that part of it, I want to say, is probably, I don't know, maybe that could be something that comes up. We'll see. It's not in this charter amendment election, though. Again, as referenced earlier in the show, that is part of a news conference that's going to be held by Congressman Tony Gonzalez right after this show here today, so we won't be able to bring you direct coverage of that, but I'm sure we'll talk about it on the next program here, that climate policy action item K, as it has been referred to. I still need to do that dramatic reading that y'all were seeming interested in there. Don't know if I'll do it with music or not, but make it a little bit more easy to understand the couple of paragraphs worth of just ballot item information. Anyway, let's go back to those phone lines now. Again, that number is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. We do have Jerry in the Northwestern line with us here right now. Jerry, thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you, Andrew, for taking my call. Andrew, I just called in just to tell Tony Gonzalez, representative, thank you for speaking out against this environmental KKK thing that they got going on.
Okay.
Okay. It's to me, they are nothing more than organized crime deal where they're taking away people's money and their jobs. That's all it is.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that news conference. So I may have misspoke earlier. I realized he had a law enforcement roundtable earlier today. So he's been in the region and the area specifically. I mentioned that he posted some pictures on his Twitter, among other things, from the I think it was the Paso del Norte Bridge. Let me double check that thing. So in any case, so this one is just a news conference, probably talking about future efforts on it here. So I'm making some assumptions on the things he will probably say about it, along the lines of what you're kind of getting at there. But we will definitely be talking more about that tomorrow. I have no doubt.
Well, I hope he does, because from what you said is he disagrees with it and hopes we vote it down. I hope we vote it down also.
I mean, essentially, that's some of the kind of executive summary, you might put it that way.
Yes, and if he's listening, please work with our people here in El Paso to stop this, because you're going to lose, what was it, 170 some thousand jobs?
That is some of the estimations from that study you're referring to there from the chamber. Let's just say we're doing some more review, and we'll probably have more on that study specifically here in the near future.
Okay, well, good, because that's what, 100, at least 100,000 families that's going to not have food on their table, and with today's economy, to where it's as bad as it is, and yes, inflation's still out there and it's still going up, and yes, we are having problems with our banks, and yes, they may collapse. Don't know yet, but they may collapse. Our economy may just flush down the toilet in the next 2 or 3 days. We don't know, but we don't need to be losing any more jobs next year because of the environmental wackos, or the environmental mafia, whatever you want to call them, people out there.
So, interestingly enough, we actually do have an interview coming up for y'all tomorrow on with some of our iHeartRadio financial experts on what kind of the current situation is and what people here need to know. So we'll be talking more about that part of it as well tomorrow on the program.
Okay, and then one more thing.
Mhm.
This is for Frankie. Frankie, you live in New Mexico. Texas has nothing to do with you. Don't be so arrogant to think that you can tell us what to do. Take care of your own house. Look in New Mexico and see how they're messing it up. You're losing your freedoms up there, buddy. Look at it. Thank you, Andrew.
Yeah.
Have a good day.
Yeah, sure thing. Thanks for the point in the call. Do appreciate it. And yeah, there's the whole New Mexico legislative session going on right now. We've discussed that at certain points, and usually in relation to, as y'all have brought up anyway, gun bills, gun control, safety, etc. bills. So we'll keep focusing on or mentioning those as they come up. And on the whole city manager part of it here, James Ratcliffe actually saying that Henry Rivera is from his comment in yesterday, saying Henry Rivera commented about the city manager vote to be shady, but his mentioning about ethics complaint against leader of reps who wanted the city manager removed here. Don't know about that part of it, but I think Henry Rivera basically said that the process about the interim city manager, specifically the one that has now been put into place, and I am blanking on his name at the moment, starts with a W. I'll get that here in a second. Any case, saying that he didn't like the process that went through, and there are other city reps, including Hernandez, that said that she wasn't exactly pleased with it either, but still voted in favor for now. So that's why we do have the interim city manager that'll be coming on. Weston, thank you, James Ratcliffe, giving me that bit there. That's where I have so much information in front of me, sometimes I lose track of part of it. Anyway, we do have at least one more call on the line here. Again, just as a reminder, if you're calling in towards the middle of a segment or in between breaks, essentially, you might get put on hold and then popped up live. So just be prepared for it, because we will do so. So we got a call on the line here right now. You're live with Talk El Paso. Who's this?
Yes, this is Nate.
Oh, hey there, Nate. What's on your mind?
All right, good. Hey, Andrew, I just wanted to say, of course, the many topics I would like to share, but I'll be brief, and I thank you for the time. I just wanted to say what comes to my mind first and foremost is there's no parable that goes like either we're part of the solution or we're part of the problem.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see everyone out there in our radio audience take a strong effort and look at when they say about drug use and fentanyl, all these other kind of things that's just ravishing our communities, our great city here of El Paso, Texas. What can each individual do to resist, to deter, and to help prevent the use of this stuff? Therefore, if there's no need, we will be doing our part diligently to reduce the, of course, having to get the stuff here in the first place. So I'm going to stick with that one right now today. That's a perspective of mine, and I will leave you right there.
All right, well, sure thing. Well, thanks for the point in the call. Do appreciate it. I will say that, yeah, being a part of the solution or part of the problem here, I mean, it's a pretty stark choice, and most people would choose to be, unless they're the whole I identify as a problem kind of people out there, of which I know several. In any case, yeah, particularly when it comes to this issue, there are a lot of things. We often talk about the border security, the smuggling interdiction. Heck, since we've been on air here today, press release out from CBP saying that there was a seizure of 121 pounds of meth, 30 pounds of fentanyl, and just over a half pound of cocaine, just thrown in there for fun, I guess, in the last week here, span of 1 week, including hidden compartments in vehicles and body carriers, which, okay, I got to say, I have never even, I'm not sure I've ever even seen cocaine in person outside of like some of those old like boards that they bring into schools, like here's what it looks like, and even then I'm pretty sure that probably wasn't the real stuff, a facsimile. But if I was ever even presented with it and just had a total, oh yeah, no, there'll nothing happen to you, it's legal now, or you've got enough friends that'll make sure it can't happen, I'm still not sure that I would be at all interested in doing it, because the odds are that it was in someone's rectum before it made its way, and I'm supposed to then ingest it that way. Make that make sense. But I digress. The whole point of the smuggling going on is, I mean, as much as I have serious issues with AMLO, Mexico's president, Andres Manuel López Obrador, there is a he's got part of a point there, that there's a demand in this market. Though, again, the whole fentanyl thing as being, was it like 2 milligrams, is a lethal dose. We're talking like postage stamp level weights here, or orders of magnitude of a postage stamp. So being anywhere near that is just, why in the hell would anyone say, oh yeah, there's demand for that, so much as it is, let's just say I don't have a whole lot of love lost between me, positions I take. I've just kind of accepted that I'm never going to be able to travel to China or probably most parts of Southeastern Asia anytime in the near future because of statements I've made, and I stand by it on them being a major supplier of it. I mean, heck, you want to even talk about that being further doubled down upon by AMLO in, was either this week or last week's, recent week's statements about saying, oh, no, we're not making it. We're just trafficking it. That's worse, right? You do get hell, that's worse. But anyway, I mean, he's sort of saying the cartels, but it's not really our problem anyway. It's just y'all just need to stop taking it. It'll be fine. So the fact that people have been dying from it, not even knowing they were taking of it, yeah, that's totally just a demand problem anyway. There is aspects of it that need to be dealt with, including y'all illicit drugs. And I mean, sure, there are arguments towards legalization. I'm going to say that legalization as just a, yeah, sure, do whatever you want without doing things like, or recognizing the fact that these substances are not just harmful and only the legal, like there's no harm to it. It's only the legal consequences that is bad, as opposed to, man, some of the stories. I, a long time ago, decided that I was never really going to be able to be like an EMT. Very vaguely interested in not exactly being a doctor, but, being a bit more efficient, like first responder, being able to deal with, immediate medical needs, those kind of things. But some of the stories I heard from people, including someone that was essentially like locked in their house or apartment or even just a closet within it for a long time, just continuously doing this kind of thing, and the state their body was in, including, without getting too graphic here, the fact that there were certain parts of their body you could see daylight through. And no, I'm not talking about like them making a circle with their fingers or anything, or them like, having loose hair. I'm talking about like through major central parts of their body that daylight could be seen through. And yet this person was still somehow upright. Like, that's why I was like, okay, dealing with that, I know I'm not going to be able to be an EMT to have to respond to that kind of situation. I don't know if I can handle that personally. And so the idea of being at all involved with a substance that could cause that to happen to you, hell no, is the very mild way I want to put that right now. There are several other four-letter words I could imagine putting in there as well. So point is that, yes, there are aspects of this that need to be dealt with. Legalization could be useful in certain ways, but if you don't couple it with other these like harm reduction programs we've talked about, or the idea of making it so that there are off-ramps, services available to people, then you're just saying, yeah, we don't care with people who are suffering from addiction, among other things. And yeah, fentanyl treatment absolutely needs to be available. Narcan should be in every first responder's go bag, including police, because of the way it's impacting not even just those who are admittedly and purposely doing illicit substances, but even those that have no idea that they're interacting with that. Anyway, with that, we got to take that last break right now. Coming out of this break, tell you a little bit more. I mentioned a couple of things right now, but tell you a bit more specific about what we got coming up for you here on the show. So stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Don't go anywhere.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
An earlier accident, I-10 eastbound at Lomaland Drive, is partially blocking the exit ramp, and it's off to the right. A vehicle is blocking the exit ramp on the 54 Patriot northbound at Ellerthorpe. Slow traffic, 10 eastbound from the Patriot to the Loop. It's a 5-minute delay. And Montana Avenue slowing down eastbound from Yarborough out to Desert Meadows with 7-minute delays. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Jackson Hewitt. When it comes to your tax refund, think biggest. As in, Jackson Hewitt guarantees your biggest refund or your money back, plus $100. Get to Jackson Hewitt for your biggest refund, guaranteed.
I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I love Navage. I've told you about how your nose is the body's air filter, that Navage's powered suction will help flush out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs, and that Navage will help you breathe better. But what do other people say about Navage? Like Tara, quote, "My doctor wanted me to do saline rinses for my allergies, but I've never been able to successfully use a neti pot. Navage uses suction power, so it's foolproof. There are nights when I'll have particularly bothersome allergies. I'll bust it out, and the results are immediate. It's such a relief. It's become a lifesaver." Unquote. She's one of over 100,000 online reviews praising Navage, the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million people to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, CVS, Walgreens, Target, Rite Aid, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E, clean nose, healthy life.
Okay, so how crazy high are these gas prices right now, right? I mean, I filled up my car the other day, and I thought for that price, I could buy a couple of pairs of Skechers and pretty much walk everywhere. Plus, unlike gas, not only is Skechers affordable, they also last a really long time. Skechers are extremely durable, and many are machine washable, and they're so comfortable. With comfort features like Skechers' famous air-cooled memory foam, Relax Fit, Wide Fit, Arch Fit, plus so many other fits and features. Find your perfect pair of Skechers at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, or wherever stylish footwear is sold.
Dazzling decal on Daisy's Donuts window. Bold banner at Barry's Barbershop. Prominent poster at Penny's on Park Place.
This is your sign. Well, signs. To try Staples and see the difference. Get $15 off signs, banners, and posters when you spend $75 or more.
From Staples, and I couldn't miss it.
Ends 4/15. Visit staplesconnect.com/printbig for details.
For more than 45 years, the El Paso Community Foundation has worked with individuals and nonprofits to address the unique opportunities and challenges in our vibrant multicultural community. Every dollar goes to bettering our region. For more information about the foundation, establishing a fund of your own, or giving to an existing fund or project, go to epcf.org. That's epcf.org. For good, for El Paso, forever.
Rosetta Stone, where language is learned. rosettastone.com.
City streets or small towns, everyone deserves a clean, green community. We are Keep America Beautiful, the nonprofit working to end littering, improve recycling, and beautify communities. Let's do beautiful things. Visit kab.org.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for having joined us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I've been your host, Andrew J. Polk. Bad out of time for this program here, so we've talked about a lot of things. We got a lot more coming up for you, as we always do, including tomorrow. We're focusing on some more of the daily impacts, or at least how it stands at that point in time, with the markets, banks, etc., what y'all might need to know, specifically when it comes to, say, your retirement, accounts, investments, etc., talking with a iHeartRadio financial specialist on that. So stay tuned for that on the program tomorrow. And then even more on, still working on some of those stories, including more on that study that we were mentioning about that says that has that claim about the 100,000 plus job losses and the billions in wage losses coming out from this, particularly item K. Notably, I mean, their chamber's position on that, among other things, appearing with at that news conference, expected to start here in a few minutes with Representative Tony Gonzalez. Yeah, their position, I think, is pretty clear on that, but those are just some more of the things we're working on for you, and then pretty quickly we're into the weekend and beyond. So until we do that, until next time, as we are, of course, on air every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m., do want to thank everyone that did tune in, call in, comment, participate in the show every way. We'll do it again tomorrow. So until then, until next time, stay safe out there. Look twice for motorcycles when you're out on the road, and have a great evening, y'all. We'll see you tomorrow.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
An earlier crash on I-10 eastbound at Loma Land Drive exit is partially blocking the exit is off to the right shoulder. Traffic moving pretty slowly through there. Some minor delays on the I-10. Eastbound Montana Avenue between Yarborough out to Desert Meadows is a 7-minute delay. Slow traffic on North Mesa Street from the downtown exits to North Desert Boulevard with 5-minute delays. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
Hey, El Paso, Ivan Ochoa, General Manager of Sunland Park Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram Fiat. Our goal is to make March an all-time record month in sales, so we'll do whatever it takes to make a deal. Don't wait. Visit us today for huge savings.
Save big on hundreds of new and certified pre-owned vehicles during Ram Truck Month at Sunland Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Upside down your car, truck, or SUV? We want it, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Right now, get $3,000 off MSRP on 2023 Ram 1500s, plus super low 4.9% APR for 72 months. Get $4,000 off MSRP on 2023 Jeep Gladiator Sport or $4,500 off MSRP on 2023 Jeep Grand Cherokee L models. Worried about your credit? Don't sweat it. Our lenders will push to approve your credit, even if your credit is less than perfect. Trade and upgrade for less at Sunland Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, where buying a car is fun. At I-10 at Sunland Park Drive or online at sunlandparkdodge.com. Estamos en tu esquina, El Paso. El Paso Strong. Includes factory rebate and dealer discount plus TTNL. 4.9% APR is $16.06 per thousand finance. On select vehicles with approved credit. Offers not combined.
Portions of the following program were pre-recorded.
Why should you volunteer with me?